Take ownership of your life. Change starts when you accept responsibility for your choices and actions. Life will always present challenges, but how you respond is within your control. This book will guide you to develop principles that help you become the active driver of your journey, shaping your future through intentional decisions. What real productivity means. It's the art of focusing your energy on what truly matters and aligning your daily principles with your deeper goals. This kind of productivity enriches your mind and spirit, allowing you to accomplish more with less stress. Growth is a journey, not a quick fix. While quick tips can help get you started, lasting transformation requires daily commitment over time. Principles are the building blocks of your identity, and through patience and persistence, you will see meaningful, lasting change. Energy is your most valuable resource. Managing your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy is more crucial than merely managing time. When you protect and channel your energy wisely, you become more focused, resilient, and connected to your purpose. Your commitment. Now, before we move on to the 8 principles, I invite you to commit. To stop comparing yourself to others. To take full ownership of your journey. To be patient with yourself as you build lasting principles. To focus on progress, not perfection. Transformation is possible, but only if you are willing to start from within. Principle number 1. Get up early. The first principle that can change your life. Waking up early isn't just about setting an alarm. It's about creating the kind of life where you lead the day, not chase it. Early mornings are where many successful people find their edge. I'll explain the powerful reasons to rise early, which show how real people transform their lives by embracing the morning. 1. Own the quiet hours. There's something uniquely powerful about the early hours of the day. Before the noise of the world kicks in, before emails flood your inbox, social media demands your attention, and the pressures of daily life set in, there exists a window of pure, undisturbed silence. These early hours are free of distraction. No one is calling. No one is asking anything of you. It's just you, your thoughts, and the silence. For many, this time becomes the most valuable part of their day, a chance to focus, create, reflect, and set the tone for everything that follows. Emma, a freelance writer and single mother of 2 living in Portland, used to start her mornings in chaos. Her day began with the rush of getting the kids ready for school, making breakfast, packing lunches, finding missing shoes, and handling last-minute homework. After the school drop-off, the whirlwind continued with cleaning, errands, and squeezing in client work wherever she could. She often stayed up late just to finish her assignments, only to wake up groggy and stressed the next morning. Her creativity felt drained. She was tired, emotionally worn down, and frustrated with herself. The dream of writing her own books, a dream she'd carried for years, was buried under a mountain of responsibilities. One evening, after yet another day where she felt like she'd only been reacting to life rather than living it, Emma came across a podcast about morning routines. One line stuck with her: if you want quiet, if you want clarity, claim the morning before the world does. Something clicked. She decided to try waking up at 5 a.m. an hour and a half before the kids usually stirred. The first week was tough. Emma struggled to keep her eyes open. Her body resisted. She questioned whether this sacrifice of sleep was worth it. But by the second week, she began to notice something subtle yet profound: silence. Not just the absence of noise, but a stillness that allowed her thoughts to settle and her mind to open up. There were no interruptions, no distractions, just peace. She began using those early minutes to write. Just 30 minutes a day. No pressure, no deadlines, just free, creative time. Slowly, her ideas began to flow. Scenes she'd long imagined came to life on the page. Her long-abandoned children's book manuscript began to grow. Her confidence returned. Those early sessions didn't just improve her writing, they lifted her mood, sharpened her focus for the day, and gave her something of her own before giving herself to everyone else. Within a few months, Emma finished the book she had shelved years ago. She submitted it to a publisher, and to her astonishment, it was accepted. Her dream was now in motion, not because her life became easier, but because she found a way to claim the time and space she needed to create. Those quiet, early hours became sacred to Emma, the moment when the world slept, and her dreams finally woke up. 2. Build momentum before the world wakes up. Starting your day with even a small win, like a walk, workout, or journaling, gives you early momentum and a psychological advantage over the day. Jake, a college sophomore from Denver, lived in a constant state of overwhelm. His typical day began at 8 a.m., not by choice, but by the jarring sound of an alarm that he usually snoozed 3 or 4 times. Mornings were rushed. He'd skip breakfast, throw on clothes, and sprint across campus to barely make it to his 8:30 lecture. His mind was foggy, his notes were scattered, and he never quite felt present. Every day felt like he was trying to catch up on assignments, readings, sleep, and even his own thoughts. He was surviving college, not experiencing it. That winter break, Jake visited his older cousin Matt, a disciplined early riser and successful entrepreneur who ran his own tech consulting firm. From the moment Jake arrived, he noticed something different about Matt. He seemed calm, focused, and in control of his time, even while managing a business. Curious, Jake asked him what his secret was. Matt didn't talk about productivity hacks or complicated systems. Instead, he simply invited Jake to try waking up at 6 a.m. for a week, just as an experiment. Jake was skeptical. He had never been a morning person. The idea of voluntarily waking up at 6 a.m. during winter break sounded absurd. But with nothing to lose and a bit of curiosity, he agreed. The first 2 days were tough. Getting out of bed in the cold, dark morning felt like punishment. But Matt kept things simple. They started with a short routine: make the bed, stretch for 5 minutes, drink a glass of water, and read 1 chapter of a self-help book. That was it. There was no pressure to accomplish anything big, just small wins before 7 a.m. By the 3rd day, something shifted. Jake began to feel a sense of calm he hadn't felt in his life. That quiet hour before the world stirred gave him mental space. There were no emails, no notifications, no noise. Just time to think, move, and prepare. Those simple actions made him feel productive before most people were even awake. By the end of the week, Jake didn't need his cousin's encouragement. He was waking up early on his own. The experience had given him a glimpse of a different life, one where he felt ahead, not behind. When school resumed in January, Jake decided to keep the habit going. He adjusted his bedtime and set a morning routine that worked for his lifestyle. He continued stretching, reading, and added 30 minutes of study time before breakfast. The change was profound. He began attending classes more prepared, submitting assignments ahead of schedule, and even applied for, and landed, a competitive internship with a local media firm. But for Jake, the biggest transformation wasn't academic. It was internal. The biggest win, he later said, I felt like I was no longer feeling behind. I felt like I was ahead of the day, for once. Waking up early didn't just change Jake's schedule, it changed his mindset, confidence, and entire college experience. 3. Activate your inner discipline. Rising early isn't about the clock, it's about commitment. Doing something hard every day builds the principle of mental strength and follow-through. Sophia, a law student in Chicago, had always been intelligent, curious, and passionate about justice. She had a sharp mind and big dreams, but she struggled with consistency. Her study habits were erratic, her sleep schedule unpredictable, and her productivity depended heavily on her mood. When deadlines loomed, she relied on last-minute cramming fueled by caffeine and panic. Despite her potential, she often found herself stressed, behind, and doubting whether she truly belonged in such a competitive academic environment. As final exams approached during her 2nd year, the pressure became overwhelming. Her anxiety was at an all-time high. One evening, while visiting her grandfather, a retired U.S. Marine, he noticed the fatigue and frustration on her face. A man of few words and unwavering discipline, he gave her a piece of advice that would change her life: Win your morning, win your mind. He explained how, for decades, he had started his days at 4:30 a.m., rain or shine, snow or heat, to prepare for the day ahead, because a strong start gave him strength for everything that followed. He then issued her a challenge: wake up at 5:30 a.m. for 30 days straight. Sophia was resistant at first. She hated mornings and had always considered herself a night owl. But something about his words stuck with her. She respected the discipline he had lived by and felt inspired to prove to herself that she could build that kind of resilience too. The first week was brutal. She dragged herself out of bed, groggy and grumpy, wondering if it was even worth it. But every time she wanted to quit, she thought of her grandfather, out in the field decades ago, lacing his boots in freezing weather, committed to something bigger than comfort. By the second week, Sophia began to notice a shift. Her mornings started to take shape. She'd brew a cup of tea, review her notes for 20 to 30 minutes in silence, and take a short 10-minute walk outside, rain or shine, just to clear her head and get moving. The routine was simple, but it grounded her. It gave her a sense of control she hadn't felt before. Over the next few weeks, that early discipline began to spill into the rest of her life. Instead of pulling all-nighters, she found herself studying consistently. Instead of procrastinating, she took action early. The momentum she built in the mornings carried into her afternoons and evenings. When exams arrived, she walked in calm, focused, and prepared. The results show that Sophia scored in the top 5% of her class. But what stayed with her even more than the grades was the internal transformation. It wasn't just the grades, she later reflected. It was the belief I built in myself. If I could win the morning, I could handle anything. Sophia's story is a reminder that discipline isn't about punishment, it's about power. The power to choose consistency over chaos and belief over doubt, one morning at a time. 4. Create space for mental clarity and self-reflection. Quiet mornings allow you to slow down, reflect, and align your actions with your intentions. You hear your thoughts without the world's noise. Liam, a tech startup founder from Seattle, had every reason to feel successful. In just 3 years, he had grown his company from a scrappy idea into a thriving enterprise with a growing team, steady investors, and rapidly increasing revenue. From the outside, it looked like a dream. Internally, however, Liam was unraveling. His life had become a blur of meetings, metrics, and pressure. Every day starts with pings, emails, Slack notifications, and endless decisions. He was always plugged in, always on, and yet increasingly numb. Though he was hitting his professional targets, he was losing something much more valuable: emotional peace. He felt more like a machine than a man, efficient but disconnected, productive but hollow. One afternoon, during a rare break, he shared his growing exhaustion with his therapist. She listened carefully and then offered a surprising suggestion: start your day with silence. Just 30 minutes, no screens, no noise. Journal. Meditate. Make space for yourself. Skeptical but desperate for change, Liam agreed. The next morning, he set his alarm for 5 a.m., 2 hours earlier than usual. It was dark and quiet. He stepped out onto his apartment balcony, wrapped in a hoodie against the cool Seattle air. With a notebook in one hand and a hot cup of coffee in the other, he sat. At first, he didn't know what to write. The blank page felt intimidating. His thoughts were jumbled, and the silence was almost uncomfortable. But he committed to the process. A few lines on the first day, a paragraph on the next. Within a week, his journal pages began to fill. He wrote about his stress, his fears of failure, the weight of leadership, and the loneliness that success hadn't solved. He reflected on past relationships, unhealed wounds, and forgotten dreams. Surprisingly, he also found himself writing about what he was grateful for: his team, the chance to build something meaningful, and the stillness of the mornings themselves. As his pen moved across the pages, Liam began to see patterns. His anxiety wasn't rooted in the number of meetings or tasks, it came from ignoring his emotional needs and pretending that performance was everything. Through journaling, he discovered that what he needed wasn't more productivity, but more presence. Meditation followed naturally. After writing, he would sit quietly for 5 or 10 minutes, focusing on his breath. No apps, no expectations, just being. Within a few weeks, Liam's mornings transformed from chaotic to calm. That 30-minute ritual became his anchor. It didn't just change how he felt, it changed how he worked. He became more patient, more thoughtful. He started delegating instead of micromanaging. He reconnected with his team on a human level, not just a strategic one. Most significantly, he reached out to his estranged father, beginning the process of healing a long-broken relationship. "I used to wake up in a storm," Liam later said. "Now, I create my own weather first." His story proves that success without self-awareness leads to burnout. But when we start the day by reconnecting with ourselves, we don't just lead better, we live better. 5. Start the day with intention, not reaction. Waking up early gives you the power to choose how your day begins. Instead of diving straight into a flood of alarms, notifications, and obligations, you start on your own terms, with purpose, clarity, and calm. Natalie, a high school teacher in Boston, understood this the hard way. For years, her mornings were a whirlwind of chaos. She'd snooze her alarm until the last possible moment, scramble to get dressed, and often skip breakfast. Traffic stressed her out, and by the time she arrived at school, she was already running on fumes. Her day felt hijacked before it had even started. This disorganized rhythm affected more than just her own mood. In the classroom, she was often irritable, distracted, and short-tempered. Her students picked up on it, even if they didn't say it out loud. Teaching, once a passion, started to feel like a burden. Natalie knew something had to change, but she wasn't sure where to begin. Everything shifted when she attended a weekend wellness workshop offered by her school district. One of the speakers emphasized the importance of intentional mornings, not just waking up early, but starting the day with presence and purpose. The idea intrigued her. Could a simple shift in her morning routine really make that much of a difference? Determined to find out, Natalie decided to try waking up at 5:45 a.m., a full hour earlier than usual. She committed to a small routine. The first 15 minutes would be entirely hers. No phone, no news, just breathing, stretching, and quietly repeating a few positive affirmations. Phrases like, "I am grounded," "I teach with love," and "Today, I choose calm" became her anchors. Next, she'd play soft, instrumental music and prepare a healthy breakfast, something she hadn't done consistently in years. She gave herself time to eat slowly, sip tea, and mentally walk through her lesson plan for the day. This pocket of stillness, created before the noise of the world crept in, became her sanctuary. Within a couple of weeks, Natalie felt a profound shift. She wasn't just more punctual, she was more peaceful. The frantic energy that had once defined her mornings was replaced with steadiness. Her classroom became more harmonious, and her students noticed the change. One teenager said, "You seem different this semester, like, calmer." Natalie smiled, realizing the student was right. But the transformation went beyond mood. Her creativity returned. Her patience deepened. She was no longer just delivering content, she was emotionally present, engaged, and fulfilled. That early morning routine didn't just make her a better teacher, it made her a better human. Natalie came to understand that every morning was a choice: rush or reflect, react or lead, survive or thrive. And by choosing to wake up early with intention, she wasn't just reclaiming her time, she was reclaiming herself. Final thoughts. These stories share a truth that cuts through the constant noise of modern life. The way you start your day matters more than you think. In a world overflowing with alerts, expectations, and endless to-do lists, the early morning remains one of the few spaces untouched, still, sacred, and yours alone. Waking up early isn't just about productivity or beating the sunrise. It's about owning your time before the world lays its hands on it. In those quiet hours, before emails demand replies or social media hijacks your attention, there's a profound opportunity, a chance to connect with yourself, set your intentions, and build momentum for the day ahead. You are no longer in reaction mode. You are in creation mode. Whether it's 10 minutes of stillness, a short walk to feel the air on your skin, writing down your thoughts in a journal, or simply making your bed, these acts are more than habits. They are declarations. Each one whispers, I lead my day. I don't chase it. And here's the beauty, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to meditate flawlessly, write like a poet, or jump into a 2-hour workout. You don't even need to consider yourself a morning person. What matters is that you begin, that you carve out even a sliver of time for yourself before the current of the day sweeps you away. This truth shines clearly in the stories of people like Sophia, Liam, Natalie, Jake, and Emma. Their transformations didn't come from dramatic life changes overnight. They came from a series of quiet, consistent mornings. From showing up, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when they didn't feel like it. Each of them discovered something powerful, that the morning doesn't just shape your schedule, it shapes your self-belief. When you build discipline in the morning, it ripples outward. You face challenges with more calm. You make decisions with more clarity. You speak with more kindness. You think with more purpose. Why? Because you began your day from a place of control, not chaos. Over time, those quiet moments become your anchor. They remind you of who you are when the world isn't watching, your thoughts, your goals, your inner strength. And in the stillness, something incredible happens. You awaken a version of yourself that the noise had drowned out. The morning, then, is not just a time on the clock, it's a mindset. A gateway. A declaration that today, you will show up with intention. That you will lead, not drift. That you will design your life, not just endure it. So start small. Start messy. Start tired if you must. But start. Because in those first few minutes of the day lies something extraordinary, not just potential for productivity, but the power to become the person you were always capable of being. Success doesn't start with sunrise, it starts with what you do before it. So, set your alarm. Not just for the morning, but for the life you truly want.